Welcome back to Built to Ship, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with founders and product leaders shipping real AI products into the world. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Michael Barnett, founder and CEO of Loanspark, a business lending as a service platform. They enable companies from SaaS providers to brokers to embed business lending experiences into their offerings in under 7 days. Michael, it's great to have you.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Great to be here. Long time coming. I know we've been trying to pin each other down for a while, so super excited to be here.
Definitely appreciate you making the time. I know it's a busy life as a founder, but really interested to start out with, your background. You spent something like 20 years in commercial lending, both at On Deck Capital and in fintech in general. What pain point did you see in your experience that led you to found Loanspark?
Yeah, I have. I've been in real estate and commercial lending for about 25 years, which dates myself. It does seem like a very long time, but the cool thing is I have a lot of great memories and a lot of great stories for those 25 years. But I would say the single factor that influenced the founding of Loanspark was that throughout my career as an executive, as a leader, as a salesperson and an account manager, I always thought that the end borrower, the applicant, the person on the other end of the transaction they deserved an amazing experience. They deserved to be treated really, really well, with respect, with almost like this, air of, we worship you because without you, there is no us. And one of the things I learned is a lot of companies don't see or treat those borrowers that way. They see them as a means to an end or a means to hit a goal a lot of times, or just a means to make money. And so the best way for a company, at least in our industry, to talk to create amazing experiences for as many borrowers as possible is to build a business around channels that allow you to amplify your message. So that's one of the reasons why we decided to go embedded lending and utilizing the partnership model, opposed to a company that is just kind of like a direct sales approach to where we were going direct to the borrower. So we wanted to build great experiences for borrowers. We wanted to touch, feel, speak to, and work with as many borrowers as possible. And that's a little bit about why we did it.
Amazing. I love that, laser focus on the end user and then, their experience. And what did you see in your background? Like you mentioned that hey, people weren't treating folks this way. Was the opportunity just in the experience? Is the embedding a unique angle? I don't know a lot about this industry, so would really love to dig into a little bit more about what you did before this, because that probably informed a lot of the strategic decisions you made for founding this company.
Absolutely. So the embedding is a unique angle, primarily because there aren't very many commercial lending companies that have any embedded lending technology. When you think of commercial lending, most people think of a bank or some financial institution. And banks and financial institutions, they don't really do embedded lending. Really doesn't make sense for them. Embedded lending for me was the way for companies who have a captive audience of potential borrowers who want to take a loan. It's a way for those companies to provide a great experience for those customers. And the cool thing is that if you are a customer of, let's say, a SaaS company, hence Voker.ai, your SaaS company, right? A SaaS company or a software company or some business services company, the brand has a captive audience, and that captive audience is going to go somewhere eventually for a loan, whether it's a line of credit or a business loan to support the company, the business, or maybe the business wants to now purchase a piece of real estate to operate their business in. They're going to talk to somebody. whether that is a bank, whether that's some broker, or whether it's just some third-party private lending company. Well, the embedded lending component for us was a way for those SaaS companies or those business services companies to provide the resources to their end customers, their potential borrowers, to get a loan utilizing the Loanspark experience. So again, it goes back to one of my earlier points is how do we amplify the message? The amplification of our message is through embedded lending and embedded lending partnerships and through just our model in general.
Great. And you mentioned a couple different types of businesses that might work with Loanspark and do this embedded lending, from SaaS to service providers. Is there a specific industry that you work with the most, or that is a fit, or is it very broad, like the type of business, the type of customer that business has?
Well, the type of business that can do embedded lending is very broad. However, our most popular business type today are mortgage companies, commercial finance companies, real estate companies. They are the most common and most popular for us today. However, our services aren't just limited to those types of companies.
Great. And walk me through an experience for one of these companies. They come to Loanspark, and do they already understand what embedded lending is? Do you have to teach them about it? And then, you mentioned that you get them up and running really quickly. What does that process look like?
We do get them up and running really quickly. Typically takes up to 7 days. We do advertise 7 days, but in many cases, it's a lot less than 7 days. But we offer a couple of different partnership types. So we work with, at the simplest level, real estate mortgage brokers. So a real estate mortgage broker who may help you or someone you know, a friend or a family member, get financing for their first home or their second home, or maybe an investment property. I would say when you look at the type of individuals that we work with and the type of customers that we work with the most, mortgage brokers are a large part of our population. Now, on the mortgage broker side, you don't see a lot of direct embedding. In most cases, the mortgage broker utilizes the Loanspark platform as their lender to help them find the best deals for their client's commercial mortgage or business loan. So mortgage brokers is a large part of our platform. We also have customers who do the embedded lending, and in some cases, they do it with our full white label experience. And that's where I think you had mentioned get set up within 7 days. So that experience is actually pretty neat. I know for some of our competitors, it's a very complex and complicated process. For us, it's super, super simple. So when a client signs up with Loanspark to do business with us, they essentially complete a very simple onboarding process. Takes probably about an hour. And then they'll provide to us almost like a template of how they want us to set up their custom white label instances. And then our backend team, they do the engineering of that. Usually takes them a few hours to get the initial instance set up and a half a day to test it. And then we're released and ready to go. So it really doesn't take a long time for us to complete the engineering of a new account when a client signs up with us. The 7 days is that we have a pipeline of clients who are being set up. So it does take some time in order for us to fulfill those requests and, of course, make everyone happy. Yeah.
That actually resonates. I think a lot of our product is around getting AI systems up and running quickly without having to build your own infrastructure in-house. And folks will come onto a demo call, we'll build a prototype there, and it's ready to go into production. Right. The thing that takes a lot of time is more the back and forth with other stakeholders and okay, is this the use case we want to start with? And it's a lot more of the sort of human decision part, which is interesting. Sounds like there's a bit of a similarity there.
There is. For us, it's your button color. Do you want your button red? Do you want it to be green? What about the border radiuses and the logo? What should it look like? Is it formatted the right way? It's those types of things when we're customizing the instance, and we customize it, we launch it, and the client says, can you change my logo and can you make it formatted or oriented this way as opposed to that way? So that's where it can take a little time, just the back and forth and making sure everything is set up just right.
That's great though, that you're able to automate like the complex, but let's just say like it's important because you need to set up that work for the system to work. But like to the client, they want the product to work, and then they want to customize it. And because you guys have automated or really streamlined the engineering part, you can really focus a lot of your time on the customization, which sounds like it's kind of like your mission and your brand to give this great experience to your customers.
Absolutely. It is to make things easy and just to create an overall amazing experience.
Well, I want to dig into like how you're actually making that engineering, system so efficient and effective. I'm sure you have like hundreds of data points that you need to, analyze, match people to different funding programs or underwrite them or compliance situations. I'm kind of out of my depth here, but tell me a little bit about like those levels of complexity and where, if anywhere, are you applying, AI, whether that's traditional machine learning techniques or, LLMs, across this process to kind of speed it up?
Sure. I can talk first. Let's talk about how we're using AI in the business today. Then we can speak a little bit about a part of what the future will look like. Of course, we can't release all of our secrets, but a part of what the future will look like as it relates to AI. And then we'll come back and talk about like more of the how part. So
great.
We think AI is amazing. I am glad that the technology is maturing so quickly, maturing quickly than a lot of other technologies that I've been a part of over the last 30 years in my career. What I can say is we're using AI in two places in our business. One, we're using it in the software development cycle. And I think some companies are. I was going to say a lot, but I think a lot would be a stretch. Some companies are using AI in their software development process. What I can say is if you're not, you're costing yourself money and it's a mistake. The reason why I'm so bullish on using AI in our software development process is because we're able to get the work done of 5 developers with 1 developer, utilizing AI as almost like a co-pilot. And the technologies that we use for that, we have committed to the Windsurf IDE, for those of you who know what that is, and also Claude Code. So we've kind of adopted the Anthropic technology as well as Windsurf as well. And we use those 2 tools together to accomplish our goals. We're releasing almost every single day we're releasing, which is great. If you asked me a year and a half ago, if this is how we were going to be managing our development life cycle, I would have said you were insane. But we watched the technology mature, and then we jumped in, and there's no way we're looking back. Okay. So from a tool perspective, those are some of the things that we're using in our dev stack. But let's also talk about some of the things that we're using within the organization to make our life a little bit easier. So when an applicant applies for a loan, there's a multi-step process. They have to complete an application. They have to send us documents, and hopefully they've sent all the right documents, and hopefully the documents are good documents. And then we have to essentially submit those documents into our underwriting team, who reviews the documents, reviews the profile to ensure that the client meets the parameters. So we're using AI in the middle of that process to where when a client is sending documents in to our system, we can intercept those documents with, let's call it our AI bot, who can read documents, extract information from documents, make some high-level decisions about the document, the type of document that it is, what type of data is on the document, extract data from the document, and then create records within our system for a human to review for accuracy. That saves a lot of time and helps us with our document reviews with a lot less headcount. So like back in the day, companies that I work for, we've had up to 40 or 50 document reviewers. Well, at Loanspark, we can do it with 2 people, right? Because of AI,
Amazing. Yeah.
which is really neat. So that's one part of the company and more part of the business where AI is a major part of the business. The second part of the company where AI is a major part of the business is when we are making a decision as to how to position the loan application. So we have a lending marketplace of banks, private lenders, et cetera, that have signed up with us to essentially buy the loans from Loanspark. And there are many of them. There's over 100. And each one of those buyers has different parameters. Some of them like high credit scores, some like lower credit scores. If it's a real estate transaction, some like to buy properties that are invest in properties that are in Florida, others like only properties that are in New York. So we've had to build some pretty sophisticated logic that helps us to make a decision as to which one of our buyers of the loan we need to position that application with. Sometimes Loanspark is the buyer. Other times it could be another bank or another institution that's buying that loan from us in the end. So we're using AI to help us make the decision as to which bank, private institution, or loan buyer to position that loan application with. So it's a very complex process. AI does make it a lot easier for us to do that efficiently and very quickly.
Amazing. It sounds like, we talk to a lot of companies and some of them like are just dipping their toes. Some of them are like, oh, I'm going to wait and see before I even start to try to implement any of this stuff. And I think the approach you all are taking is the best because, of course, like you said, there's things AI can do today. And then there's things it'll eventually be able to do, but you're not going to learn and kind of decide for yourself where it makes the most sense in your business without trying it out. So, and one of the things I really like is, you mentioned that you're using AI to save a bunch of time, but it's still ending up that, you have some human in the loop when you need it. You can improve the system probably, right? If you're saving information about, how the AI did. And that's, again, a pretty advanced approach that will pay off in the long run because now you have this data internally to improve your own systems. And it's just this virtuous cycle. So yeah, really impressive.
And I think a lot of companies, for companies that are thinking about adopting AI, I would suggest that they take a step back and look at the business processes and just make a list of everywhere in the business that you think you can automate things and utilize AI, and then test it with one thing. Test it, try it, see if it works, get an idea of the error rate, right? And once you kind of dial things in, then move to something else. Then try to implement it elsewhere, automate something else. The reason why I'm saying that is because I've heard stories of friends of mine who are CEOs and founders and co-founders, and they just try to like throw it in everywhere. And it's like springs popping out of a mattress. So that's kind of how we started. We really tested into it to see if it would really work and if it would work at the success rate that would be acceptable for us. And it took us a little while to kind of calibrate things to get it to the point where things were working at that acceptable level.
I love that. And I really want to underscore that. I couldn't agree more. We've seen, to your point, a lot of horror stories. I've seen companies with tens of thousands of employees that just create a group chat on like Teams or Slack that says like, everyone go log into our new, chat bot and go try to do whatever you want with it. And you just see like hundreds of messages like, I tried to give it a CSV and tell it to predict the future. And it's not working. Like, someone help me. So I think like your approach is really methodical. Just to reiterate what you said, start with the business need, like where are all the places we could automate things? Where do we, even if you're not sure if AI can do it, put it on the list, prioritize it, and then start one by one going down that list. The last thing I'd maybe add, and I'm curious what you think, is like, just because it doesn't work today, you try something and it doesn't work perfectly, doesn't mean you delete it from the list forever. Maybe you circle back, 6 months from now, 3 months from now, when a new model comes out and try it again. and really it's that iterative approach that you mentioned is what we're seeing succeed the most for our customers. So yeah, great.
No, I agree. The technology is changing and so fast that we're planning some of our next big releases, which in early January, we will be releasing what I believe is something that's going to really change commercial lending in this market. And AI is going to be a really big part of that. But 4 months ago, because of where the technology was, I don't think I would have been able to do it quite the way that we've envisioned it today. Now with the changes in enhancements with Claude Code and some other technologies that are enabling us to be able to do this more rapidly, my target release date is moved up by probably about a year.
Wow.
To get something like this done. And I think it's going to be really awesome.
That's really exciting.
A lot of those who are looking to embed real estate into their business.
That's great. Well, you gave me a great tee up. I know we're close to time, but I wanted to ask, like, yeah, what is the future? What's the next step for Loanspark? You kind of answered that question, but anything else you can give us on like where you think, AI is going to go that's going to enable X, Y, or Z thing in your industry or in your business? What are you excited about?
Well, I just think in the lending business, for those of us who are able to take advantage of the technologies and who have the ideas to build the next great thing, I believe the technology today is in a place where we can enable a lending process that is so easy, so smooth, and so informative, whether it's commercial lending, consumer lending, real estate lending, like lending in general. I believe that these technologies are putting us in the position where we can do anything now. There are no limits, which is cool. Like if you've seen The Matrix, like there's no spoon, right? Which is the out of the box thinking. Like there are no limitations now with what is possible. And that, as I mentioned a moment ago, to tie things together, as we're planning our next big release, which is an embedded real estate lending product that is focused on investors who want to fix and flip properties, investors who want to purchase buildings and restaurants or office buildings, apartment buildings, etc. The way that they're going to be able to now apply and receive those loans is like nothing you've ever seen before. Today, you've got to go into a bank, you've got to fill things out manually. It's a very manual process. The future, it's not going to be that way.
Love it. So, that's very exciting. And I really appreciate the insights that you shared, and excited for this next launch for Loanspark. I'm going to put your website up on the screen real quick, just on that note of for folks who want to follow along and see what you come out with. Here's your website, loanspark.com, but where else can people follow along with your journey?
Absolutely. They can also follow us on LinkedIn. We have a well-established LinkedIn presence, so that's a great place to follow us. Also Facebook, right? Facebook is also a great place, and also on TikTok.
Amazing.
My team has made us TikTok famous, so we love TikTok. So you can follow us there as well. That's
great. Well, thanks so much, Michael. It's great chatting with you, and looking forward to keeping in touch and following along with the exciting next phases of Loanspark's journey.
You as well. See you soon.
All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.